Hi everyone. Today we'll talk about how to start showing up. Maybe for some it'll be about content, making videos, writing posts, I don't know, maybe taking up photography, sharing your work, taking photos. Maybe someone will want to dance, sing, write poetry, start putting themselves out there and so on. And here's a very important point. When we say that, like, I need to start showing up, or like I want to start showing up and so on, we don't fucking need to change ourselves somehow. We don't have to learn how to perform on stage. We don't have to learn how to sing. We don't have to learn how to write poetry. We don't have to learn how to make videos. Well, although making videos, okay, it never hurt anyone to learn that, but that's not the main point. The word showing up itself means showing your current self to the world without any filters, like, look at me, look what I can do, without filters. Like, you know, I recently read a book, in brackets, saw it in reels. No, this is about us just stopping being shy, so to speak, stopping being afraid to show who we really are. And if we're talking about why we're afraid to show our true selves to the world, it's the fear that we'll, not be accepted, the fear of alienation, the fear of rejection. And this has been, let's be honest, for like 2 million years since humanity first appeared, stuck in our heads, because what did we have back then? A tribe, right? And if a person wasn't accepted by their tribe, meaning they were kicked out or alienated, well, that meant starving to death. Meaning he's alone, and alone we can't fight off tigers, we can't, I don't know, even cook food, or I don't know, protect ourselves, our women and so on, right? So it's a basic fear. Well, that sits deep inside us, that if I start doing something, people won't understand me, or even worse, and people will judge me. Until 2022, I didn't film anything, I didn't make any reels, my Instagram posts were sporadic, like, you know, some smart person said I should post on Instagram, so I just went ahead and did it, yeah. There wasn't any real motivation, no goal of like showing myself to the world. And that's actually a good question too. Why do we want to show ourselves to this world? I mean, if you're watching this video, you've probably, one way or another, had this question in your head, like, man, I kind of want to perform, but I'm not doing it. Or I want to film videos, but I'm not filming. And this desire, this burning desire, the energy we have inside, if it's not channeled into some kind of action, it just keeps spinning around in your head. This real happiness is in action. And why is it that we don't actually take these actions? Personally, I can say that until 2022, I probably had some kind of childhood programming. My mom told me my whole childhood, Cole, don't draw attention to yourself. Even though, you know, I was a pretty bright kid in school, loud and cheerful, and I had plenty to show for myself, like raising my hand in history class to answer. But for some reason, my mom would say, like, sit still, don't stand out. If they ask, you answer, don't raise your hand or take initiative, and so on and so forth. And in my case, a big goal helped, well, maybe not even a big goal, but a burning disagreement with my current reality. That's what worked for me because, well, for example, I looked at my social media. I had like 2,000 followers there, even though at that point I already had like 15 silver play buttons. Those are YouTube awards for 100,000 subscribers. I mean, I'm a YouTube producer. I was promoting channels for entrepreneurs, and I still am. We have the largest studio in Russia. I wasn't really very active about talking about what I'd learned and what I'd achieved over 7 years of work. And when I took a sober look at what I know, what I can do in terms of results, cases and knowledge, and my follower count, well, I even felt probably some anger at myself, because why am I not sharing my knowledge with the world, for example? Or why am I so smart but I have so few followers? Or for example, why don't I put myself out there? Like when we'd go to all these different business meetups and someone would ask, like, tell us what you do. And a lot of people are like, I clean cat litter boxes. People call me on Avito for 100 rubles. I go and clean cat litter boxes and my turnover is like 15,000 rubles a month. And my turnover was already like 1 million, for example. And I'm thinking, with some total crap, my God, then another hand goes up and that person's like, and we, for example, build rocket factories, yeah. I'm like, man, well, that's cool. Well, I mean, here you see, I was in the shoes of that very judgmental person myself. Like a person who cleans cat litter boxes, I look at him and think, man, what an idiot, Lord, seriously. What cat litter boxes? Then there's another person with a more, I don't know, impressive portfolio. I'm like, man, well, where is he and where am I? How am I going to raise my hand after him? And in this story, public opinion actually had a very strong influence on me. And let's be honest, the fear of showing up, the fear of talking about yourself is directly related to the fact that we're afraid of how people will look at us. There's a very cool paradox here. The paradox is that we want approval. I mean, why don't we show up? Because we're afraid of judgment, and the opposite of judgment is approval. So we want approval. Accordingly, approval can come from two things. It can be internal approval when we can approve of ourselves in something, and external when, I don't know, some smart guy comes along and says, look, Kolya, you're doing great, everything's cool, everything's wonderful. And so I get this approval either from myself or from the external environment. And then there's also this, when you write one good text and people give it, 200 likes, and the next post, you wrote it in a hurry and it gets 50 likes. You're like, man, that's not it at all. But you know what the main paradox is? We need some kind of approval. And very often, people who don't show up are the ones who run, wait, and crave this external approval. So the outside world says, yes, you're doing everything right. And I'm 100% sure you've seen people like that on Zoom calls or at work trying to suck up, saying, yes, here, please. Oh, yes, okay. And maybe some more tea for you. So this is like an exaggerated story, but I'm sure most sensible people, viewers, channel subscribers look at them and think, what the hell are you even doing? And why are you trying to get this external approval? I mean, we have heads on our shoulders. And what's the paradox? It's that when we try to earn external approval, we never earn it. Never. People will start walking all over us, taking advantage, and so on and so forth. But at that point in time, when we decide not to chase external approval and replace it with internal, it comes to us on its own. Look at all the most, let's say, respected people in this world, or not, Elon Musk, Trump, and so on and so forth. But they do complete nonsense. Like this Elon Musk is dancing at some presentation next to robots. Yeah, Trump can even flip the bird to a simple reporter, the president of the USA flipping the bird to a reporter and so on. And we look at it and we're like, well, damn, he's a decent guy. Well, or say some people like him, some people don't. But the thing is, the most important part of putting yourself out there is learning to approve of yourself on your own. Meaning, when we've done something, we look at it and go, yeah, that's good. Or well, let's say there are some rough edges that we'll fix in the future. I'm a perfectionist in that regard. So, let's look at things objectively. The moment we stop chasing after all those people who might judge us, actually, when we stop thinking about those people altogether, they start to respect us. Someone might say, oh, he's got a big head now, started filming reels. Or someone might say, like, what are you even doing? There's already 1 billion psychologists out there. Of course, at the start, people will be triggered by the fact that you're starting something. There's this thing called the crab bucket. When there's a huge bucket of crabs and one crab tries to climb out, the crabs at the bottom pull it back down, and so it falls and everyone ends up at the bottom. So in this metaphor, seeking outside approval is exactly what creates that crab bucket effect. When we're trying to do something, or maybe we've even done it, people start saying, why are you even doing this? Like, why the hell are you bothering? It's not for you. You weren't born for this. No, putting yourself out there is about showing your true self to the world. And God, let's think of Nick Vujicic, who has no arms or legs, yet he lives a life that's actually even fuller than mine, because we just have to show who we really are. And when we start showing the world who we are, besides the haters, people also come along and say, man, you're awesome. I really want to edit in some clips here from a wonderful movie from my childhood called Hitch. There was a scene where the guy being coached on how to meet girls started dancing awkwardly or, eating messily, smacking his lips and all that. And that was the real him. That was his genuine self. And in the end, the girl everyone was chasing after noticed him. So obviously it's a bit of a fairy tale movie, but it teaches us the most important thing, to be yourself. Be yourself, because all the other roles are already taken. When we start being honest with ourselves, saying, I want to make videos, I want to, sing, dance. Good Lord. I'll tell you a real life example of when I judged someone. There's a show on TNT called Titans, and this Georgian singer came on. Toniki Pontoniki was his name, yeah. I'm thinking, man, you're like 2 meters tall, you're a big buff Georgian guy, what the hell kind of singer are you? I'm thinking seriously, what is this cringe? And then he just starts singing a song. I'm thinking, well, that's a bit cringy. He sings a second song. I'm like, okay, that's actually not bad. He sings a third time, and by the third time, I respected him so much, actually even more than if he just said, I'm Torniki, I'm a bodybuilder, an athlete, and so on. Why this story is about the fact that if you start putting yourself out there, writing poems, singing songs, dancing, whatever, of course at first you'll get some pushback from society, from the system, like, who do you think you are? Where the hell are you going? Or what the hell, what songs, what kind of man, and so on. But then respect will come. And why will respect come? Because you respect yourself, because you're doing what you want. You have this inner core of your values, of your worldview. What you want, you do. People will see that. And people will say, damn, you've got some balls, they're huge. And after a while, you'll realize that external approval came right after the internal one. Probably the easiest way to start putting yourself out there, that was all the fluff, the theory of self-expression, let's call it that. How to start? Well, start with the small things. When people do cold water training, they don't just dive into an ice hole right away. First, they take a cold shower, then, I don't know, they lie in a cold bath, then an ice bath, and then after several iterations, they go into the ice hole because it's still stress. Let's be honest, it's still stress for the body. So try to find some small things where you can start putting yourself out there. Roughly speaking, you're at a party with strangers. And when everyone starts introducing themselves, you're the first to raise your hand and say, you know, I'm Kolya, I do video marketing. Or even better, a perfect example. You're on a live stream, a webinar, or some kind of lesson, right? And your teacher asks, who's had this happen? Can you share your story? Be the first to raise your hand and start telling it. There's nothing scary about it. Then you can, for example, gradually make it harder, write a short text, film a little video, just on your phone's selfie camera. No need to rent a huge studio or anything. Then you could even try giving a speech, I don't know, among friends. And I'm 100% sure there are people invited to a wedding who are like, man, I hope I don't have to give a toast. I hope I don't have to give a toast. Go ahead, raise your hand. Push through the fear and say, I'm nervous, honestly. I'm not good at toasts, but I'll speak from the heart. So you have no right to judge me if I stumble over my words. By the way, about stumbling over words, that'll be the next video on our channel. If I stumble over my words, don't judge me. And no one will, because you're real, you're sincere. If you're worried, just say so. We're all human. We all started somewhere. When I see someone learning to drive with that student driver sign, I don't think, oh man, that's crap. What a terrible driver. I think, man, that's cool. And 12 years ago, I almost got into an accident exactly like that when I was taking my test. We all started somewhere. It was hard for all of us to start putting ourselves out there. Even those people with millions of subscribers now, just look at their old videos, the crap they used to film. It's no big deal. They filmed and filmed and filmed and filmed. Now the whole country knows them, so persistence pays off. And success is just the number of attempts. So go for it, little by little, slowly picking up speed. This was Nikolay Velizhanin. Until next time. Wait, stop. Look, we just turned off the camera and Stepan, the cameraman, says, man, great video, it really hit home. I actually filmed one video for YouTube a year ago and then quit. I asked, why'd you quit? Why, how? Stepan says, well, hell if I know what to film about, and so on. And this is actually a crucial point too, because when we start putting ourselves out there, it's important to think about ourselves, what we want to talk about, show, do, and so on and so forth. But at the same time, we also need to understand what people need, what the demand is from this world, from this audience. You know, when we talk about mission or a person's purpose, I really like the saying that purpose is the intersection of our talents and the needs of this world. So putting yourself out there is about how talented we are, what our superpowers are, but the needs of this world, what we talk about, how we can help this world, that's something you need to study. You need to build up your visual experience. You need to understand a bit of psychology. And if we're talking about video marketing, the viewers and so on, and it'll be much easier for you because you'll understand what this world needs and how you can give that to the world. Now, that's definitely everything.